This is Special Report.
Black holes are one of the strangest things in existence.
Neil Armstrong may have seen extraterrestrials on the moon.
When he spies a discernible shape.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
You can deny all the things I've seen, all the things I've discovered, but not for much longer. Because too many others know what's happening out there. And no one, no government agency has jurisdiction over the truth.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Full Spectrum Universe. I have a good friend of mine on tonight and a great guest. Her name is Gloria Caning, and we're going to talk about her podcast called Inception. We're also going to be talking about her great awakening and consciousness. Just a ton of information going to be thrown at you, so be ready. Let's introduce Gloria, and here comes Gloria. Gloria, hello.
Hi, and no pressure on me then, Rob, okay? What
None.
an intro. What an intro. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me onto the show. I love your trailer and
the video? Yeah, that's the intro.
I love it. I love your intro. Intro. And the beings remind me of the beings that I've seen. So that was like, whoa, look at that. So
Awesome.
Great.
That's it does that. What the whole purpose of it is to spark a little bit of the conversation right before we do it. So let's start off right in the beginning. Let's go all the way back in time, Gloria.
Oh God, hundreds of years then, yeah?
No, come on. No, I wouldn't even say 40, but go ahead. So all the way back, what was that first either interaction, moment, or that feeling? You can explain all, or whichever one came first, that you realized that something was off for you.
Okay. I will give that. However, I need to premise this with, at the time, I was not fully aware. It was because ET wasn't in my reality and self-realization wasn't in my reality. So if I go back to when I, earliest memories as a child, I knew I didn't fit in. That was a relevant one. I perceived the world differently to others, energetically. I sort of came in with a extremely heightened sixth sense, and so I would read my surroundings. Obviously, it was I was geared up for the experience I was about to experience, which was what one would label childhood torture and abuse. So I was highly alert to know what was coming, to prepare. So reality never seemed normal to me. I felt I was either adopted or stolen. I didn't belong. And I could do things as my elder sister reminded me, even younger than I knew, even as a toddler, doing things like telepathy, levitating child blocks in the air, and all different things like that. I think early age, under 10, I had the understanding I was seeing these beings. So they looked like human beings. I wasn't aware at the time they were dead. So there was a psychicness to there. I was already connected to another realm. So I was seeing what you would call dead people. And at the same time, and it wasn't until many years later, I thought they were dead midgets. You know, midgets die. I thought, well, there must be. There was plenty of midgets or dwarfs in London at the time going about. So I'd seen them in the streets. So I thought they're the small beings. So I had no idea who they truly were till later on in life. So early childhood, Rob, my childhood was not normal at all. There was nothing normal. There was no friends coming for tea. There was no parties. There was just in the house or in wherever I was told to go, so to speak. Yeah. Early age.
That seems to be a resounding commonality for
Mm,
people like us that
yeah,
have gone through some of these things that kind of go unexplained or shied away from at times because people don't like to face what they don't understand.
yeah.
So let's go a little bit further into the future,
Okay.
and let's get to the point where this realization happened of what exactly was going on. Tell us all about that moment.
It came in increments, and it was like as I was going towards, I suppose you would say, puberty, the teenage years. There is a major one that I've spoken about on other shows that really was a major eye opener to shatter my reality. I was around about 13, and I was ironing my school uniform in my mother's room, facing her, at my mother's front room, facing her wall. There was just a wall partition with nasty wallpaper on, and the a sense of, and I always say it, I've said it on other shows. I don't know if you've ever been to the dentist back in the day before when they put the mask on to knock you out. There's like a vroom vroom vroom. That's all I can describe it. And then I noticed time was slowing down. I was slowing down, and I could see I become like an observer, and I could see my hand on the iron, and everything was slowing, and as if time was about to stop. And as this occurred, I looked to the wall, and the first two almond big black eyes, just the eyes, then the second, then the third come through. I was consciously aware. I was awake and aware in the middle of a human, ironing my uniform, and then blackout until I woke up. Well, I didn't say woke up until next thing I was sitting on the sofa, I think, and I just carried on ironing like nothing had happened. It's like streamlined. I was just streamlining. It was like, I become that gave me more awareness that this has happened before, but still, ET, none of that. Even I thought they were dead people again. I'd had so many paranormal experiences that were natural. I didn't question it even at that point. However, I then started to have an understanding that I was seeing dead people. That I did understand. And I found out many years later from an old school friend that I contacted via Facebook, like 40 years later, tell me what I was like as a child, because I got so much missing time. It's unbelievable. And she said, you always took us to graveyards and you always scared us, with the dead. So that was a major shift at that point, because then it wasn't just the beings I was seeing and the missing time. This really, I was mature enough consciously to have an understand that my reality was not right. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
It's a gut feeling that something is off, and
Yeah.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
those moments are evolved with truth. They have so much truth in them when we start understanding what's happening around us and what we're actually doing to perceive
Mm.
these moments. It becomes surreal,
Yeah.
right? So,
Yeah.
when did you understand a little bit more that this was part of your consciousness working with you and for you to enable you to see what you were seeing in this I guess kind of towards this great awakening
Yeah. I'm with
moment?
you. It all started in childhood. However, it wasn't through each sort of like um, moments that I become aware, and it's always the hindsight. So I'd already started to have what you'd call like dreams, and going with these beings, which I never saw on each side. And as a child, I thought they were angels, because that was the only thing I knew Christianity, and that angels existed. I didn't know about anything else. And I would go on there, and a difference between a vision dream or a schooling, or like I was in school, than a dream. You never forget them. They're vivid. They're more real than real life. And I'd already started. I was being shown how a human being would behave. How should a human being use concepts and ideas? And one of the major ones, which in hindsight I can say I know why, because I became a criminologist, is they were showing me how murder was committed and how thoughts and beliefs and ideologies produce. Now watch this, then this one's going to respond. So it was a schooling. I was watching a schooling on murder, and then it was like the planets, astrophysics, quantum physics, all the sciences, and much more, sacred geometry. And so I was going through, it's like I was being not programmed, but being like reconnected. So every time that happened, I knew there was more. Then what would happen? I would then go researching. It would be an automatic compulsion. I have been a member of every religion I can think of, followed every society, into Enochian magic, John Dee. I did the lot. And each time I become aware I was more than, but I didn't quite know who that was. But I questioned more. And I suppose really they brought into me an aspect of my being that I'd never really used before, and that's called discernment, and to deconstruct, and it was okay to, but still I couldn't go out anywhere with it at that point. I couldn't tell anyone. By the time I'd got to 16, with what was going on in the human experience and with the paranormal, I attempted suicide because I didn't belong here. I didn't fit in. I needed to go, and I couldn't take any more. It was the most hopeless experience I ever felt in the whole of this journey. And that's, each one led to the next, so to speak. So it's like I had to go through what you would deem a low vibrational experience and they kept telling me, whoever, they would talk. You can do this, you can get through this, you're here. So every time trauma came, I was sort of, my consciousness shifted for the trauma to go ahead, and I was okay with it. So each time,
it's really wild how it's trauma that breeds most of the people that we align with, and most of the people that we talk to. There is another path, which is through contact and other things, that is not so much traumatic, but most of us are not fortunate enough to get that. And I totally understand. One of the things that resonated with me that you said was that you tried every religion. I did the same thing, because you're in this spiritual place where you want your sovereignty, and you're trying to find this path towards that sovereignty, and it's very, very difficult to find it. So you think that maybe by looking at the way that these people go about looking at that faith, or that extra realm of consciousness,
we're trying to belong. I was looking for an identity because I didn't fit in. So every religion, let's try this one. This is me. I need the truth. So I realized in hindsight, I was looking for an identity of belonging here. And obviously I never found it because I don't belong here, obviously. But that was the process. And I think that's why many of us go through the same path. And I always say, because it wasn't till, I'd say around about 86, 87, I can't recall, and not even having an awareness there was such thing as ET or extraterrestrial or other beings. There was just planet Earth and what I was experiencing. When I saw Whitley Strieber's cover of his book, that destroyed and totally shattered even what I thought to be true. I just couldn't compute this. I couldn't. And I went to a very, very dark place, because and I would say that was the biggest awakening for me at that point, where I realized there was really more than this reality. And then all of the training I'd been given, or whatever you call it, then started to come into play, and I started to resonate. And I had to work on that. That was traumatic. I was shit scared that I'd been seeing these beings. And as soon as that had happened, memories. And that got really scary because I felt like I'd lost control, because I literally lost my identity of who I at that point, I was a victim. I was the best victim on earth, playing the role, and I couldn't even be the victim anymore. I couldn't play the role of poor me. Look what they did to me. They did this, they did that, and I couldn't do it anymore. So I was shattered for quite a time.
Now, once you picked up the pieces and figured out what this kind of meant for you, and you said you couldn't worry about that anymore. What was the next stage of it? Like, what was the next phase of it for you? Because it's usually for somebody like myself, like it's that putting things into motion, planning and putting it back out. Was that the same for you?
Similar. I've never planned anything, and this sounds weird. Every time like this happened, then what happened after that? Again, I went into research, but this time my research went different. I went into ufology, a new field. I hadn't touched ufology, and I started to listen into groups. I was a great lover of Art Bell. I'm old enough. And I was an avid listener of Art Bell. I loved Art Bell, and I'd listen to people coming on, and I would start to hear people share their experiences. However, it wasn't my time to come out the closet. So that did shift. There was a massive, and I was hearing people talk about this greater consciousness. But I still had some victim belief systems in me. So as I'm going along, I'm having to work on that. It was very hard for me to accept that I could be one of these experiences, because I didn't feel I deserved it. I was good enough. It was still the victim mode. So there was a hell of a lot of decades of dark night of the soul for me, constant working. But I've got to say, paradoxically, at the same time, dream after dream, knowledge after knowledge, download after download. I would come in, I'd go out, I'd speak it. I don't know how I did it. And then I noticed that I started to go for, what can I say, like esoteric more than anything. So I couldn't grasp anything. That, I would say, propelled me. The biggest opening was quantum physics. And once I got into studied quantum physics, it academically, I understood everything, how it could happen. Even though I'd spent most of my journey experientially, I hadn't at that point still put the two together. I academically had this understanding. And then way back, I heard of a gentleman called Papaji in India, a guru, and others, and Alan Watts. Alan Watts, I loved Alan Watts, and he started to talk about the dream. And when I heard that, I had a memory that I was fully aware from childhood. While I was practicing, it was an illusion. So just fragments would come in, and then it was Muji, self-realization. And the ultimate self-realization came when I did a darshan with Muji in one of his satsangs. It was separate. And I sat in that space, and I had the biggest fear you could fear. And it was like, I'm going to die any minute now. I'm going to die. I mean, I've been there a few times, but this was for self-realization was Muji. And I sat there and I sat there and sat there, and I can't take my heart. I'm going to die any minute. And it was allow. I kept hearing allow, 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 allow the emotion, allow the fear of death. It was always fear of death, always. And then boom, my beingness went, I am here. So that was a major awakening. I am here. And then I recalled being the observer before, but I'd never realized I'd been this state. So once for my journey, my truth, every time a next awakening or whatever you want to call it happened, then I'd have total recall. Oh, it happened then, it happened then. I've always been here. So does that make sense to you? It goes back in a timeline. And that was a major one, and then more major work. more, more, more deconstructing of the human experience. Yeah.
You know, one of the things that that reminds me of is a lot of the stories of what they call the walk-ins, right?
Mm,
And a walk-in, if you're not familiar with it, or people out there not familiar with it, is where your body or your physical vessel goes through a soul change. You almost change your soul, and it can
mm,
happen on two different levels.
mhm,
It can happen where you're completely wiped clean of the soul that you had and
mhm,
given a completely new consciousness transfer. Just boop, one in, out, you know, one out, one in. Or there can be these human moments that almost wash the consciousness clean and
mhm,
deconstruct the barriers. And what happens is all of the the mundane or the nine
mm,
to five slash routines, emotionally, physically, spiritually, just shed, and
mm,
it's almost like it was revibrate, like the vibration has been was lower, but then something injected into it, and now it's raising back up and shaking free
mm,
of all those
mm.
specific things, right? And it's it sounds very similar, and I've heard these stories before, and it's crazy because when people tell me their stories, especially when we talked the last time, I have charted my same exact moments, and it's always similar. There's always these moments where you can go, well, it's like, you know, our paths may not physically have crossed at those moments, but spiritually we were on the same level of like the same
Same,
playing field.
same.
And it's the wildest thing. So, Gloria, where are you now? Tell us about what the now is to you.
Where am I now? I'm going to have to label it as consciousness. I, consciousness, am experiencing all things at all times, in all places, all timelines, all parallel universes, all galaxy, now, now. I am the observer. So I have a realization, the same as with Muji. I'm here. It was the mask coming off, the illusion coming off. However, I'm aware I'm playing the Homo sapiens sapien. I'm here. I came in here to experience duality. So I always say it's like, from my truth, it's a juxtaposition from this being. So I have call it consciousness, call it Christ consciousness, doesn't matter what you call it, say consciousness, playing the role of Gloria. So I am, at one point, I was one step in one world and one step in the other. And that was hard, I must tell you. It was like, I've lost it, it's gone. No, it hasn't gone, it was always there. But you go through that period, one step in, oh, I can't get back to that, I can't do it. Yeah, that went on for some time as well, until I realized, oh, that's the mind, that's the ego doing it. But now I'm in that space. I am fully aware, totally aware of I can't label it, I will call it consciousness. I say we are the gods, all of us. I am aware. I am that I am. That's the only way I can.
No, it's excellent. And just to let people know, you know, I'm looking at the wall behind you and the expression that you put into art. Can you explain some of what that means to you, and also what it is we're seeing when we're looking at it?
Um, all of my art, I mean, and in the other rooms as well, is this one is dimensional beings based art. Prior to that, it was sacred geometry, three-dimensional. When I go to do a canvas, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And I just go into the space, and then I'm in, and it comes out. I have tried to control colors, even colors. I've tried to add something I want, the identity. It's out, it's blacked out. These are other beings, other conscious beings that are part of this polarity. They are here because they're part of it. So how do we do this? What is hidden will be revealed. So we all know about the law of attraction. So for something to come into one's reality, even if it's making a film, writing a play, anything creative, it's all about creativity, because we could say we're creator gods. We create podcasts, shows, design, clothes. To bring it into the reality, it has to come through the consciousness. And then once it's in place, it's here. The paintings hold a vibration. I've always known that. So, and each painting's different. So three people may look at one painting, but one person will resonate with it and be drawn into it. So it's a vibrational aspect. For whatever reason, it's their personal path. I don't know. When I did the sacred geometry ones, they were 3-dimensional. I would line them all up in the other home, and I'd come back later and they'd all turned, because I had the 5 platonic solids, which is what the whole of material matter is made up of, is the platonic solids, the vibration of the 5. So they represent other beings, other timelines. I'm not into past lives. I don't mind expressing it in that term. It's multiple timelines now. So, because I've actually experienced seeing myself in another timeline in the now. So I became aware of that as well. So
it merges together. Is what happens. Is the expressions of those moments where you may have been more enlightened, come back to the realization of the now when you're.
And you switch timelines. You can switch.
Right.
You can switch into timelines, come out. You can merge in, and it's what the beingness, not the identity, wants to do. I'm sorry that, if you want to go on a practical spiritual journey, then if that's your free choice, go and do it. However, the journey is within, and it will shift you where you need to experience, to have greater awareness of because the whole point is, what the fuck is this all about? So you have to go into consciousness and experience to find that. You're never going to find it in a 6-week course, basically.
Absolutely right. And one of the things that you said was talking about the research and how looking into these pasts or these specific topics, it essentially is you working on yourself, even though it may not seem like it at the time. It's essentially internalization of self-work, and why that is, the way that translates, I almost haven't even figured out how it works yet, because it's still like, to me, it's like, well, I've just been reading about Native Americans for the last 2 hours, but somehow I feel re-nourished and refreshed, like I've done something. I guess it's a perceptional shift, coming out of the now a little bit and relishing in those past moments, reading and saying, "Oh wow!" Like
let me give you another take on that.
Go ahead.
My way of it, I agree with you, but mine's going to come a different way. Say, for example, you were going on a journey, Rob, okay? And you were going on a very long journey, okay? And so you said, well, I don't want to get lost. So I'm going to plan my journey, and I'm going to send, like Hansel and Gretel, I'm going to put little breadcrumbs in certain spaces, not behind me, in front of me, okay? In front of me.
I know where you're going now, too.
You know where I'm going with it. And, it's like we spoke off camera the other day, and I was saying, you brought me into your reality. This is not about interviewing Gloria. This is you. This is your next breadcrumb, and it's my next breadcrumb. Does that make sense?
Of course.
We're mirroring. So as people say, you do the breadcrumbs as a trail. No, I'm reversing that. We've already put it ahead. We've already done it. It's already over. Coming from my truth, 7 moves left. It's the chess players. It's already over. You've done them ahead. And when you see it that way, when you reverse, you flip it. We flip anything that you think, flip it on its back, and then oh my God, that makes sense. Yes, that one. And then it's when people say, oh, in hindsight, if that didn't happen and that didn't happen and that. But then if you flip it, you flip it. There's no fear for the future because you're fully aware where that's going.
You've already been there. It's just, you're just literally reliving it, because and that's the thing about consciousness, is it essentially lives everywhere at all times. There's
all things.
There's no interpretation of not knowing. It's just, it literally doesn't make sense anymore. That not knowing doesn't actually happen, which is an incredible concept on itself when you think
Yeah.
about it. And
Yes.
one of the reasons why I brought up your art is because these to me are expressions
Yeah, they
of
are.
you pulling that internal out and putting it outward
Yeah.
for other people. And that's also what your podcast is about.
Yes.
Inception, the
My
Inception
podcast
podcast.
is, yeah.
Tell us how that started.
Well, I have to say it was the beings. It started before the podcast. It started with my show. I have a show here in the United Kingdom called Open Minds, and it was last Christmas at some point or after Christmas. I don't know. I had a visitation. These were different. They looked like greys, but they weren't grey. They were this blue. I cannot tell you. Blue. They were taller. And they're at the end of my bed. And normally my conscious it's not paralyzing for me. I don't have that paralyzation. I'm fully consciously aware that the frequency of my body, which is consciousness, they've shifted it into where I don't actually experience the human body. So I become the observer. Many people that think they're paralyzed, if you just change the way you look at things, it might change. You're not paralyzed. You're becoming the self-realized observer, observing the experience. And if you work on that, it's not traumatic. So I was aware, I was observing them, and they came in an image of, they were blue, this blue. And the biggest, I've never seen them that big, deep, beautiful, hypnotic, I can't tell you. And I'm so used to this because prior to that, I had a sense. I woke and I had a sense they're here. It's familiarity. I rushed to the loo, come back, and then went to bed and went, no! It was like a game since I was a kid. I'd always go, no, and roll over. I'm not going, like a game. You're not taking me. But it wasn't bad. It was a game. And I looked into that, and I remember this one. I'd never seen these beings before. They seemed more, I don't want to say advanced, but they seemed more higher frequency. I can't, more knowing. They were, I don't know what they were, but they were high. And he tilted his head and it started to communicate. And it was like, how you doing? Like, here we go. It was normal. How interaction, no more. Then, I don't know how long after it was a couple of days. And I, out of the blue, Rob, I went, I'm going to create a live TV chat show. And as I'm saying it, I'm going, where the fuck did that come from? I don't know how to do a TV show. I haven't been to media school. I had made a documentary in 2012. I had made a documentary for my job role in my work. It was on domestic violence and child abuse. So I made a documentary. But apart from that, so I spoke to a guy I know. I said, do you fancy being my co-host? I want to start a chat show. And he went, yeah. Boom. My chat show now is on season 2. It's fully booked to February. However, that started. And then going along. And then I had another experience. But these beings were totally different altogether. Once again, I'm in the bed. And I saw there were like 3, Rob. And they weren't like, maybe I suppose I could say looked a bit mantis, maybe. But there were 3. I couldn't really see. They were creamy. However, one started to make a tone from its mouth. And it felt like, first of all, it was like click, 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 click. And I thought, oh, they're going to talk to me. So again, I felt no human body. I was observing. And then it started its vibration as it turned into tones. And then the other one started, then the third one. And then the 3, these energies come to me. I can't even explain this shit. And as it was come to me, I felt, I disappeared. That's all I can say. I can't say anything else.
You phased out. You kind of like phased out.
There was nobody. There was no even observer, but I was still there. That's the only, I can't explain this. But I was there, and this energy was coming towards me, and I became everything just like that. And then next thing I wake up in the morning, and then I was talking to someone, and I went out of my mouth again, I'm going to create a podcast. Rob, within minutes, I found some free software. I created the trailer. The universe connected me to Chris Matthew. I wrote on the trailer what it was going to be about, even though at the time I didn't really understand. It was just coming out. I just created it. Luckily, Chris Matthew, God bless his nylon socks, said, yeah, we'll produce you, we'll put you out there. Then boom, and that's a massive success. And now the Inception podcast has a baby sister, which is the Inception Specials. So Gloria didn't do it, but it's creativity coming out.
Right. Now,
do you want to ask me anything on that?
Well, here's the next question I have for you too is kind of relative. So what, now that it's made and you're doing it, what does that work mean to you?
What does it mean to me?
I'm making you examine a lot of stuff. I'm sorry, but I'm
do it. It's right. I'm gonna ask the guys to come in, so I'm not really bothered. It'll come. Just bear with me. Yeah. What does it mean to me? It's like I am here. I'm here to do my utmost at this time, because this is a critical point now, to do my best to manifest consciousness in a self-realization state, and for consciousness to communicate instead of human to human. I know that sounds fucked up and crazy, but
no, it sounds awesome, and that's exactly what I was looking for by probing that question. I knew a lot of these questions that I've asked you today, I know the answer to. We've talked about it already. And what I'm doing is I'm not analyzing you. What I'm doing is I'm showing the audience who Gloria is.
Who Gloria is, weirdo.
Gloria has is amazing. Gloria does a lot of these things, and even though Gloria's past isn't filled with light,
none,
there is this bright light that is coming out of it. And why I'm doing that is because that shows other people that they aren't stuck in that dark modality.
No, they're not.
And that modality to them could be so encapsulating that it could feel like they're drowning. And you've talked about somewhat of that kind of feeling throughout the interview so far. And what you're doing is you're representing what's the grass is greener on the other side. You're representing over that mound. And once they discover that sovereignty and being able to enjoy the now, be in the now, but also to understand that the now isn't exactly just this present time that your physical avatar is consuming. It actually radiates across time and space. So you're all places at once. And one of the things that I also realize that we're talking about is these great connections to so many different focal points throughout the universe, throughout time, throughout dimension, throughout basically frequency. And where we can pinpoint and go through some of these conversations and say that was probably at that kind of like a frequency or resonating or radiating at that moment. And that's why it's so incredible. And that's why I ask what's Gloria's mission? What is Gloria's mission?
My mission, my mission, if I'm going to say mission, which is a human concept, however, coming from the juxtaposition, my mission, and as everyone's mission, is self-realization. That's it.
That's exactly right. It's exactly
right. And because it's an eternal, creative, conscious being, it doesn't mean it ever ends. And it breaks away from the limited, like, I will die, I can't do this, I haven't been to university, and all that. That shatters, that goes. And you become, I am here. It's always been me doing, no one else has been, Gloria hasn't done jack shit. It was the being that went to university. But Gloria, the mask was the identity, it's the illusion. And because the choice of coming in to experience duality and polarities So when I came in, I had to come in to experience, I'm aware of it now, the worst human, lowest density you could imagine first. You know, at the time, it didn't, if I'd known this then, but no,
Right.
I had to experience it. I had to come in that way first. And I will say, when I was in that experience, I always, from these beings and in here, loved everybody. Loved them. Loved them. The only time I went crazy is when they diagnosed me with schizophrenia, because I was going around saying, I see dead people, precognition. I was doing mediumship. And in them days, you just don't, you know, you couldn't burn you as a witch. They took me to a psychiatrist and put me on heavy drugs, phenobarbitones. And of course, with the psychic energy, whatever, I just went fucking crazy for a while and had to get myself off that. But yeah, it's
Think about this too. Let's talk a little bit about the external now, right? And
Yeah.
how, even though it's the human experience, but the societal changes
Mm-hmm,
from, let's say, even 20 years ago
mm-hmm,
to now, and how different the accepting is of this raised frequency and this mass awakening of
mm-hmm,
the inner consciousness of so many dormant people, that
mm-hmm.
it's like, it's almost like you can feel pockets of people just like exploding in the sense of light. Like, it's the craziest thing. Like, if I could visualize a globe, I would see like this town, this town, this town,
Yeah, yeah.
and the way it's happening, this, to me, and I'm going to ask you what you think, it's this moment that we all chose to be here for.
Mm-hmm,
And I think it's part of the beauty of that self-reflection, but also that mirror that you're talking about, and also the letting in of the infinite consciousness back to like the earth and where it used to be in this evolutionary path. So what is your take on this great awakening, without talking about specific topics that'll get us censored because we're going to be on YouTube?
yeah.
So, a lot of things are off limits with that stuff. So let's keep it to the spiritual side of it, but
Mm-hmm.
also within the physical realm,
No,
right?
I hear you. I hear you. The first statement you made was like, years ago this wasn't accepted and now it is. So let's start there. Many will regret that it was allowed. And I'm just got to preempt this. What's happening now is trying to be suppressed. I've got to say to you, Project Looking Glass. All right. I can only give my analogy to Project Looking Glass. I've said it before. I am aware that this was already scripted, how it would go and what would come in. But the outcome, the outcome is, let me put it back a bit. What's going on at the moment, again, I'll go to another analogy, because I use analogies because I found using certain terminologies, people, I really wasn't doing justice. So I'm going to go to analogies. We've got two chess players, and I'm calling them Russian because they're the best in the world. And there's 7 moves left. One chess player knows it's won. The other chess player knows it's lost. The one that's lost is going to sit there and drag it out as long as bloody possible, because the audience, which is humanity, is observing, going, oh my God, no, all the reactions, human. But it's over. It's done. This now, I would say, if you imagine you're in labor and you're going through the worst trauma, the worst oppression, you've got coals in your abdomen, someone's knifing your spine, you're being tortured to death, you're being controlled by the midwife, slapped, shut up, all your freedoms are gone, all your dignity's gone, you're there butt naked for any man that wants to come in. You've lost every single thing as you go through this birthing. Then all of a sudden, the shit stops. crowning, there's life. We are on, my analogy, we're at the birthing canal. What illusionary aspects you're perceiving is pushing, is you consciousness have created this, like the breadcrumbs in the future. You've put all this here to push you to self-realization, to become a galactic family, or whatever terminology you want. Does that make sense to you, Rob?
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. And you know, it really is. And one of the things that, to me, that brought me to this point was looking at these ancient cultures that
Yeah.
were at the
Oh yeah.
beginning of this specific age and this specific shift, or this cycle of mankind this time. You know, they had it right because of what was left over from the ones before them. And
Yeah.
then what they did is they left it for us to find. And this
I mean,
is
there is something I would like to say here. Sorry to
go
interrupt
ahead.
you.
No, go ahead.
As we've got the macroism and the microism. So as over the, if we go from Homo sapiens sapien perspective, so we've got a linear timeline, okay, one timeline. You'll see individuals working and becoming self-realized, then groups of civilizations just coming up a bit, self-realized, and it goes back down. Expansion, retraction, expansion, retraction, expansion. And you'll see in Egypt, wherever you want to go, or when we studied the ancients, the Indian, everywhere, Aborigines as well. And you can then see it's how it would expand, because consciousness, the whole script is consciousness to evolve and to experience all things at all times. I will not miss any experience. Any way I can do it, I'm going to experience it all, because you get in the one shot of the human experience. Yeah. If we bring it to now, where we are now, I'd say since the shift ran about, I said 2007, 2009, but 2012, a lot. At first, you could see individual awakenings, or the beginning of. Even I am not totally and absolutely awake. I wouldn't dare even say I was awake. I have a self-realization. So if anyone says they're awake, be careful, because you still fuck up. You're still human. I'm still here. But there was individual. There was individual. What we're seeing now, that was a microcosm. And because so many conscious beings come into self-realization, and it's all planned, timed, if you want to say time, now it's the macro. Now, this doesn't just mean humanity. It means greys, reptilians, lizard people,
Universal
Jupiter,
macro.
Mars, every planet, every galaxy, every parallel universe, every timeline. So if I'm consciousness who's come into a 3D reality, and this is a holographic consciousness, and I fractalize to start the universe, every shard is of the whole. So every timeline, trillions to billions, infinity. And what's happening now for the conclusion of this part of the Homo sapien, no, we're not going anywhere, but to conclude this section of it, is all the shards are coming back into the one. So all timelines. So as we expand in the collective consciousness and awaken, Mother Earth, the tree, the dog, the moon, ET, it's a collective, because everything is consciousness. So nothing cannot be left behind.
Right.
That's a human concept.
It's a universal consciousness reset, and everything's coming back to one.
Yeah. So don't give a shit about what's going on out there. Stay
Right.
in your truth. Don't fear it. And the major thing that's just left to deal with from my truth, and I may change this tomorrow, is fear of death. It's the fear of death. It's the fear, another one is the ego, fear of control. Fear of control. Well, I know, coming into my experience, I was controlled. I know what control feels like. And if you let go of the fear of control, you're not controlled. Boom.
It's
I learned
wild
that
too.
as a young age.
Same for me. Like trying to have the control of it was probably 90% of the day.
Yeah,
And once I alleviated that stress
yeah,
recently, it's been like, well, wow, like,
yeah,
okay, so it is what it is. So be it. Like that's
yeah,
fine.
yeah,
And one of the things I was talking about was the legacy of the ancients leaving
yeah,
for us, right?
yeah,
And I told you on your show that I'm
mm,
creating that database, and I think I'm
yeah,
going to call it Project Legacy.
yeah.
And you this actual episode is going to be supplemented into that database
Oh,
because
brilliant.
we've explored a lot today, and it's giving the people, it's basically contact consciousness, spirituality,
Yeah,
and ancient knowledge and histories.
yeah,
So it's just about everything. There'll be a Bible in there. There'll be all the dogmatic
yeah,
religion
yeah,
pieces in there too, but
yeah.
that's just to show them where we came to a point and say, whoa, 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 wait a minute. Wait a minute. This was not used for the right reasons, and we know it.
Yeah, yeah,
So we're showing them the good with the bad so they
mm,
can understand for the future generations, so our legacies to or even us again when we come back, if we have to come
mm.
back, it's there for them to learn and move past and not stay stuck in those moments so long and
I
have
mean,
society
I,
move a
I
little bit
hear you, and
faster.
I have a different truth on that. And you know me, I'll just speak out. There
Mhm.
isn't, because I'm aware in the self-realization of all timelines. I don't come back. I may choose to go into another timeline and to
Maybe
experience
reoccur was
something.
a better word, like you
Yeah,
reoccur.
yeah. I may choose to go into another timeline when this physical vehicle is time to go back into the earth. I may not, but I'm a, I have a knowing that I'm a one timer, so I don't even have timelines. I can't even explain what I'm saying. But what you're doing is good. And what you're doing is what we, in Homo sapien perspective, what the Egyptians, as you can see, Egyptian Akhenaten there, and there's many more of him, and hieroglyphs, they left us exactly what we're doing now. And all the other civilizations, but I'm closer with the Egyptians, and I'm aware of, the Book of the Dead, the initiation. The initiation is what many of us have gone through in a lifetime.
Oh
It's
yeah.
slightly different. It's slightly different because how boring would it be if we all experience? No, if consciousness cannot just experience one thing, it's experiencing always home. If you want to say home, we're going home. So what you're doing is you're just following your ancestors and leaving it there for the next lot that are coming in. Oh, it could be next year. It could be
Yeah.
2 years' time. Someone comes out and they go on the journey that we've gone on. Oh, I'm going to be this. I'm going to be a Christian. I'm going to be a Muslim. I'm going to be, but that will be gone by then. That will be gone. And it will be to this sort of, and they will look, and when they do, they're going to laugh. You really believed? I mean, really honest. And I'm not saying this lightly, but when I look back at my victim mode, when I was in it, it was hell. There wasn't a thing done to me as a child that should never be done to anything, from a Homo sapien perspective. When I look back now, I go, fuck, wow, it was a dream. And I so believed it was real. And I can smile and laugh, and I need an Oscar because I did the best victim mode. And I don't say it lightly or at all. And I don't deny the experience. It wasn't nice. I experienced it, but I'm aware that it was me playing the role, the illusion.
Right.
And it's people that don't get that, the only way it's not your fault. A time will come, you will have more awareness. Is if you look at your dreams, when you have a vivid dream and you wake up in the morning, you still feel maybe scared or happy or excited. You met the man in your dream or the woman, whatever it is. And when you wake up, you're still in it. Then you go, oh, thank God that was a dream. That's how I feel about my life here. Same.
It's perfect, and it didn't break you; it made you.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest takeaway from that.
No one will be broken. No,
Right.
no, because it's consciousness. It's consciousness experiencing. Each one of us is one. So
Right.
no one will be broken. No one, no, every soul in each conscious being will at some point soon, it will go. And it may take an external event, and it's not going to be what you think it is.
Right.
It's not going to be what you think it is, and you're going to go, what the fuck, I never knew they existed, or oh wow, and you'll shift. As my reality was shifted many times, and everyone else was, something will come soon to shatter your perceived reality, and it's all good. We did it. The gods did it.
We did it.
We did it.
And you know, Gloria, that's this was we have about 4 minutes left, about 3.5 minutes left, and I'm going to give you the floor to close up. But this is this is why I wanted to bring you on, is because when we had this discussion, I said, you know, just us vibing and talking, it just leads down so many roads, and we talk about a lot of things that maybe people are a little bit, they're hard pressed to either abridge, and how we do it very easily, and when we talk about it, and even though sometimes we can't explain it, we still try and describe it the best of our abilities, and in expressions that people can understand. And this is the beginning of the light for those people, and when they see this, I want them to be engaged and almost triggered to the point where they feel like they have to go and research more of what this means. And if they hear things that they don't know, and to explore what it is to be the now and the consciousness at the same time, and having those realizations like you did. So I appreciate you, and I thank you for coming on. It's been an honor and a privilege to have you on.
It's my honor and privilege to come on. You're a gangster to me. You know that, don't you?
Yeah, look at that gangster hat, 1930s, baby.
Yeah, you know, audience, you need to know, when I first spoke to Rob on video, because I'm learning all the American dialects, because obviously I'm UK, and he was talking, I was going, Rob, I've got to tell you, you sound like a gangster back in the day, James Cagney. And then you said you're from New York, so that's why I was picking up the dialects. Yeah.
And if you remember, I really put it on. I'm like, hey,
you did that day. You did.
Go down the corner, give me the gabagool, let's go get it, all right? Like I got Italian, I got Italian in me. I'm from New York. I can do the whole voice.
James Cagney did it better than you, though, Rob. No, get off.
Listen,
James Cagney was the best.
When I come on the air, I kind of give my. I'm sure I have an accent, but not a heavy accent. I try and pronunciate better.
Yeah, I'm British. We just pick up on everything. We're just snooty cows. We pick up on everything. So I talk to so many Americans now. It's all different dialects, and okay, wow, what's that one? What's that one? Never mind your bloody time zones. You've got 4 time zones.
Yeah, we do. Yeah,
we got one. Hello, one.
It's not even 1 p.m. here yet. It's 12:51 p.m.
Yeah,
in the afternoon.
Shut up then. I always, when I'm up in the day, I always think of you guys. And I do. I threaten some people. I said, I'm going to come in your dreams and really fuck up your night. Because I'm awake. I'm in the future, Rob. And the future's good. I'm telling you.
Right. It's like, you know, my friend Omar, who does Watchers Talk, is in British Columbia, which is on the other coast. So he's 3 hours behind me, and it'll be like 10 o'clock at night. He'll be like, bro, can you share that? But to him, it's 7 p.m. and it's like a regular time, you know? Yeah. And even when we do the events, I'm the one who's usually up till like 12, 1 o'clock in the morning. Meanwhile, he's stopping at like 8, 9 o'clock, and it's a good day for him. Again, here's the other part of it. On the opposite side, in the mornings when he's getting up at 7 o'clock to go on at 8, I'm not getting up till 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock.
Do you understand? I don't want to sound patronizing. Can you see the realization how consciousness has allowed this? Because by doing what we're doing, like you've just rolled that off, there is no time.
Right. We connect on a different level. It doesn't matter where it was in the day.
And we used to, as humans, go by the clock, and everything was defined by the sun. I mean, and all the bullshit you go, you know, history's a lie. But now we communicate all time zones, all places.
It's true. We truly do. And the thing about it is, even see, like you said before, even there's even moments where we get into like that human mindset, and we have to stop and think, and kind of pull back from it and say, well,
Yeah,
wait a minute. But
yeah.
you're absolutely right, and that's that even people who are so enlightened or enhanced or vibratory of 1,000 leagues ahead of others still fall back. It's still one of these. It's
It's
not
always it's a dream. It's an experience. There is no one more higher or more awake or aware than anyone else. No one,
right.
because there is no one. There is consciousness experiencing all things at all times. So, for those that haven't heard it before, we have a ball of consciousness, a light, or have the ocean, and we put a colander over the ball of consciousness, and all these conscious beings come out, radiate, zillions of them. It's still consciousness. How the hell can one being be superior to another?
Can't.
You can't. Only the ego would identify itself as, I am your master, Rob Yox.
That sounds like Darth Vader or Emperor Palpatine from Star Wars, and that's kind of
Yeah.
what they're showing you is that no matter who is the greater Jedi, they all still hold that power,
The
and that's
same.
right.
Yeah. I mean, you can look at someone who's behaving like an arsehole, and yeah, they're behaving like an arsehole, and that's the experience that you're experiencing, but you know who they are inside. It doesn't mean you need to engage. Do not engage. If a man comes running down the road with a knife to kill you, run like fucking hell.
That's
Get out.
right.
You're in a game. We're playing a game. Like you go on the Xbox. Take it serious. We're just playing a fucking game, which means someone's coming to hurt you. Run.
Yeah.
Go.
Don't stand there and be like, "Oh, I accept this."
No,
'Cause you can
no.
change
You
it
don't
at the
become
same
all
time.
love and light and yeah, it's all good, man. No, it's not fucking good. I'm still here.
That's right. Absolutely right,
I'm
Gloria.
winning this game. We've
This
already
has
won
been
the
awesome.
game.
What a way to end it too. So don't worry. Play the game. Play the
Play the
game.
game. We've
But
already
remember,
won,
there's
but
more
play the
to it.
game.
There's more to life than just the game. That's all. And that's what we're trying to perceive to you today. But Gloria, thank you so much for coming on.
You're
It's
welcome.
been an absolute pleasure. We're going to be doing another episode somewhere down the line. We're going to talk
Yeah.
again,
Mhm.
and we'll get it together. But thank you. It's been so great.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
And with that,
Thank you,
everybody,
guys.
yeah, we're out of here. See ya.